Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And yes, Brett, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Good morning, Tomocrat and BGD. Good morning, Robert McDarris. Welcome. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I thought we would chill out here and talk about some things that are happening in the Geekverse today and see what we think about them. I've got a few different topics to talk about this morning. We haven't really talked about Baldur's Gate 3. Some people sent me some information, or some people actually pointed me toward Baldur's Gate a few days ago, but I haven't played it, and I haven't been part of it, but I understand it's been generating some controversy. Hello, White Rabbit. Good to see you. Good morning, James. James also pointed us toward a Kickstarter in the Ravenkeep Discord. So we want to talk about that. So let's go ahead and let's got our drink this morning. I got ice water this morning. So here we go. Let's go ahead and breathe and sip. So here we go. 2 deep breaths, deep inhales, full exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. So here we go. Inhale. And sip. Yes, James, I did. I saw this morning that I got your email, and I saw a message in Discord as well. So it looks like I got them. Thank you. I'll write you back. Looks like they're in my inbox. Thank you. All right, so let's see what's going on here in the Geekverse this morning. Wait, where's my right? Here we go. The first thing, I don't have a lot of information on this, but I did want to point out that Free League is bringing out a box set. I guess it's a box set or an epic campaign module, as it's calling it right here, on Moria Through the Doors of Durin for the One Ring RPG. And I'm going to have to check that out. So I'm going to put that right here. Mines of Moria. We're still waiting for our Rohan, our guide to Rohan for this edition. I think James and I were talking about that as well. Be interested in having some Rohan. I want to be able to play a Rider of Rohan, and I want to be able to play a Swan Knight of Dol Amroth. But Adventures in Moria, this also seems like something that's pretty classic to do. I know the Decipher. I'm not sure if I had the old Decipher box or not, because I remember Decipher also did the Mines of Moria. And I remember at the time thinking that it had an interesting mechanic for, I think it was called Peril, for danger and peril. Now, who knows? I'm not sure if it's all that would be considered all that innovative today. But I want to say that I read it, or perhaps I had it at one time. And I would like to go back and figure out what was in that, what exactly that mechanic was for peril and for, like, rolling. It wasn't, I guess it was kind of for random encounters, but for travel through Moria. But I also believe the system could be more generalized. But that is one of the things that I remember thinking was interesting about the old Decipher RPG, but now I can't find it. And of course, it's very difficult to get a hold of a Mines of Moria. Moria box set from the Decipher RPG age. But nonetheless, so it seems pretty classic to have, there was even an Iron Crown Enterprises did Moria too. And at one time I had that. I think that all got lost in the Great Purge. But so it seems pretty classic to go and do Moria. And obviously people are very interested in this. So an epic campaign module delving into the depths of Khazad-dûm for the One Ring RPG and Lord of the Rings role-playing game for 5e. Oh, okay. So both. So the Lord of the Rings role-playing game, I think that was brought up before, that is the name of the 5e campaign. And then, or not name of the 5e game. And then the One Ring is, of course, the one that we've been looking at, which has the custom, all of the custom dice and the custom system to play, which we tended to like. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Guten Tag, Don. Good morning. So that is going on. Don't have a whole lot of information on that. We'll have to look at that. I believe this launches August 29th, but I am interested. So there we go. Now, James sent in this information right here also for some news right here. So this, I didn't know anything about this Kickstarter. It is apparently going crazy here as well. The Dolanwood tabletop RPG. Now, who knows? We might be sitting here when it goes over $1 million. A lavish, detailed fantasy world inspired by the fairy tales and eerie folklore of the British Isles. Is anybody here in on this one? Obviously, a lot of people know a lot about it. And I don't. Ultimate loot pledged here with unlocked physical goals. The journey begins. Welcome, Traveler. Like, what is this? Welcome, Traveler. Oh, let me put a link into the... So this is called Dolmenwood. Hey, Jaffords. James Bacon says, I backed. I figured that James must be in on it since he put it out in the chat. Dolmenwood. Kickstarter. So this does look cool. So it's, beware, welcome, traveler, to the fungus-racked tangle of Dolanwood, and beware, for all here is not as it seems. Dolanwood is a fantasy adventure game set in a lavishly detailed world, inspired by by fairy tales and eerie folklore of the British Isles. Does sound cool. Like traditional fairy tales, Dolanwood blends the dark and whimsical and wondrous and weird. Streamlined rules and introductory materials guide novice players, while unique new magic and monsters bring fresh sense of the unknown to veteran role players. We're launching 3 Dolmenwood core books, plus a range of delectable extras. Oh, we do have a preview here. So if I wanted to go through it in more detail. Dolanwood preview PDF. Oh, I got it. It's not something I just download direct. Okay. Preview also available on DriveThru RPG and Necrotic Gnome. No account required. Rife with intrigue, secrets, and magic, Dolmenwood draws travelers of adventurous spirit daring to venture within. Explore the wild places of the wood, traveling through bramble-choked dells, fungus-encrusted glades, fetid marshes, bedding down among roots and bracken amidst the nocturnal babbling of strange beasts. Is this something? Is it a new system? Or is it something that is with an existing system? Seek counsel of witches and hags, master of magic, then heal, hex, or divine the future. Here are the core books right here. So we've got a campaign book, a player's book, and a monster book. It might be a new a new kind of system. Let's see. James says, I think it's been something like 10 years in the making. Hello, Lady of Pain. Lady of Pain says, I've been working directly with Chaos Corporate. Essentially, the results we see are email list based on launch. Oh, I'm sure. Like, that's the way, that's you can't. This is not, what you're looking at here is not something that like Kickstarter's promoting or something like that. What you're looking at is all you have to bring your backers. You have to bring your backers. What's a tabletop RPG versus an RPG? Well, it used to be that I think all RPGs were tabletop, but in a while, I suppose we're now differentiating tabletop RPGs from something like Baldur's Gate, which is a video game. So there are video games that are RPGs. So tabletop RPGs are books that are meant to be played around the table with players. Whereas sometimes when people talk about RPGs, they're also talking about video game RPGs, like The Legend of Zelda or something like that. Questing Beast has a video on it. I believe he reviews the system. So it is its own new system. I didn't see. Yeah, that must have been how that seems like the way it is, because I don't see normally you see 5e or something on there if it is for an existing system. Well, 10 years in the making. We might be sitting here while it goes to $1 million. So it does look pretty neat. We might have to take a look at this in more detail. I'm going to put a note on this. By the way, I did get Dragonbane. Has anybody got Dragonbane from Free League? They did send me a copy of Dragonbane, so we might have to look at Dragonbane in more detail. But we might also have to take a look at Dolmenwood. I'll write that down. Perhaps get one of their previews and see what's going on with Dolmenwood. Huge to them. See what their main pledge levels are. Standard core rulebooks plus PDF. Core print rulebooks plus PDF. 2,476 backers. 1,420 backers are coming in for a limited core books and slipcase set. Well, limited plus the loot. So that one's the loot box. Lots of people in on that one as well. I always like to see what pledge levels people are really bringing people in. Oh, they get retailer levels too, of course. Lady of Pain says, I also talked to a bunch of Polygon coders. Not one knew what a VTT was. Well, this side of things, as large as it is, it's still pretty niche, right? So Dolanwood preview. All right, let's talk. We also want to follow up. I wanted to follow up a little bit here since we're just kind of catching up on some news stories about the Kathleen Kennedy situation. There's been some rumors about what's been going on with her over the past 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days, something like that. And so I looked right here that said, of course, it was reported. One of the first places that I actually saw this was on Cameron's Patreon. And then other people started to talk about it as well. Says Star Wars, Jurassic Park. Now, there are other different articles on this, but I think this one will work just fine. Star Wars, Jurassic Park producers selling Malibu mansion for $18.5 million. Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, and husband, fellow film producer Frank Marshall, have owned the California beach home since 2015. So a lot of people have been saying, well, you know, she hasn't been allowed on the Lucasfilm property. Other than, I believe that was yesterday. I think yesterday there was some news that she had been asked to come back on to take a meeting with the guy who was currently running Lucasfilm at the behest of Iger. But she was brought on with someone who like followed her in, and she had the meeting and then followed out, and then boxes were brought. And then according to that, boxes were also brought in, like moving boxes. And then like a couple of days before that, we saw this, or the day before that, or whatever, we got this news that her mansion is up for sale. So a lot of people are saying, well, then she's kind of going toward being out. Is this it? The Malibu home belonging to movie producers Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall has hit the market. Of course, it's beautiful. So a movie producing power. Let's see what's going on over here. Lady Payne says, I was on the North Coast Lucasfilm Ranch pre-2000s. So it says, a movie-producing power couple behind some of the biggest blockbusters of all time has listed their oceanfront home in the coastal California enclave of Malibu for $18.5 million. Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, and Frank Marshall, who runs the couple's production company, put the property on the market Thursday. Yeah, I knew it hadn't been long. Okay, so Thursday. Among the movies Ms. Kennedy has produced are E.T., Jurassic Park, and recent Star Wars films, and the TV show, including The Mandalorian, while Marshall has produced Back to the Future, all 5 Indiana Jones movies, and the Jason Bourne franchise. The price tag is nearly double the $9.75 million they paid for the pretty and private estate using a trust in 2015, Records with Property Shark show. The single-story home stands on a rare 2.2 wide-acre private knoll in Carbon Mesa, with the views of Malibu from one end to the other. That's incomparable to the other lot in the city. Listing agent Stan Rickman of Compass said, it's perfect for easy living and ideal for someone who appreciates land and views, and who has $18.5 million, I guess. Unsurprising, given its location, it offers that famous indoor-outdoor lifestyle Southern California is so well known for, with nearly every room having direct access to the outside and allowing the surrounding natural elements to become an integral part of the living experience. Well, okay, so it's obviously a beautiful home. But for the most part, as far as the Geekverse, I guess, has been concerned, is simply the fact that this is now up for sale. Like, what is she headed out? So it seems like, well, a simple fixer-upper. Yeah, I guess so. But, so, I mean, I thought that was significant. So I guess people, I mean, who knows? It seems like this might finally be happening. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. I mean, I've been out of following all of the Lucasfilm and Star Wars drama for a long time. And I had even been out of watching the TV shows and things. Like, people had told me, here, you need to watch Andor. And it's been like, I haven't even been following the TV shows. But I guess if you hang on long enough, like if you're, hanging on to rumors and things like that, then who knows? Maybe things happen. So who knows? I don't know if it's too. I don't know what happens to Star Wars after that. I mean, assuming this is true, assuming this is pointing to the fact that, well, Kathleen Kennedy is headed out, and well, I've also seen. I've seen the rumors that Iger is looking to sell at some or all of Disney anyway. I've seen rumors about that, perhaps to Apple, which just seems incredible that Apple is so large that it could just buy all of Disney if it wanted to, right? And like, who exactly, if you're looking for a buyer and you're running Disney, who exactly? It's like, well, who exactly, is it possible? Who could possibly even buy something like Disney? So it seems like Apple is. But then you realize that Apple is that large. It's incredible. I don't know. It doesn't really seem like to me Indiana Jones can be fixed. I mean, Indiana, how do you fix Indiana Jones? I think you probably could. You probably could relaunch Star Wars with enough fanfare if you really cleaned house and then brought in people who really knew what they were doing and who the fan base really trusted, and basically did a relaunch. I can actually probably see Star Wars restarting, but who knows? It's been a long time coming, and some things that people have really cared about. So I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe it means something's happening. Has anybody been out to see The Last Voyage of the Demeter yet? I actually also saw that just this morning, like half an hour ago or something, I saw that I saw that Cameron had posted that, Hagen says George needs to try to buy back Star Wars if that's true. And I saw, there were rumors about that. There were rumors, and then there were rumors that contradicted the rumors, about, well, who is it that would want to buy back Star Wars? Well, I've got to think that George Lucas must have thought about it. And there is precedent because they did the same. They bought Power Rangers and then ended up selling back that to the people who, Bandai, right? I believe they sold it back to Bandai after doing nothing with it and then selling it back for less than they sold it, a lot less than they had bought it for. I kind of have to imagine that George Lucas kind of would want it back. At least he's thought about it. I mean, maybe it's true. It's like, I'm just washing my entire hands of this. But that's one way that you could. That's one way. Now, I'm not that big of a fan of the prequel trilogy. And George. So I never have been, and I know a lot of people after the sequel trilogy were going back and saying how great they thought the prequel trilogy had been. I really wasn't one of those people. I remember watching The Phantom Menace a few times, and The Phantom Menace being big when it came out. Although a little bit disappointing. I mean, I was one of the people, I remember that, like, okay, everybody's so psyched for The Phantom Menace. And then, but I think objectively, when a lot of people were like, well, after the hype has died down, maybe I'm a bit disappointed in what I got. And then I wasn't, Attack of the Clones was next, right? And I may have seen that one a couple of times. But I almost left. I remember almost leaving Revenge of the Sith. So I was never a real big fan of those movies. And in fact, I remember being critical. I remember people being critical of Star Wars then. In my circles, like largely being critical of the prequel movies. I think with justification. And in fact, I can remember sitting and having a conversation after the Revenge of the Sith was done, that they were like, well, at the phraseology was, at least it's over. At least it's over. And that's not to be, right? Maybe it should have been over, but it was not, it's not. This is still going on. So I wasn't really a huge fan of the prequels. But I know that some people have been looking back much more fondly on the prequels after the sequel trilogy. And also, I know that, that there were a lot of people who basically grew up and with the prequel trilogy, and that their Star Wars was the prequel trilogy. So what they know of as Star Wars is the prequel trilogy. like I said, I wasn't all that impressed with Kenobi. I stopped watching Kenobi, but I did go and take a look at some things that people were saying about Kenobi, like in the comment sections, things like that, who were enjoying it, who were enjoying it. And there were a lot of people who were saying in the comments, like, oh my God, a rematch between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. This is everything I wanted to see. I've been waiting for this ever since, I guess the Revenge of the Sith had come out. I've always wanted to see this, and they did this so well. And they were just pouring their hearts out to it. So obviously it connected with some group of people. And you can't ever discount that. I talk about that when we talk about story analysis, things like that, that even if we have something that's not particularly structured well or whatever, there may be other reasons why it connects with a certain audience. And in those cases, it seems like it did connect. It may have connected with a certain group of people for those reasons. So, even if he doesn't buy it back, I can see that being something that would revitalize Star Wars. Like if you're like, all right, if Kathleen Kennedy is out and we're basically starting over here, what is it that we're going to do with Star Wars? Well, one thing that you could do with Star Wars is try to put George's original vision for where the story goes, back on screen and bring in a bunch of people and at least have him involved or whatever. And hey, it's time to bring this vision to life. The removal of Kathleen Kennedy and the announcement of something like that. I think that could revive Star Wars. Let me see what people are saying over here. Jeopard says, well, if you want to relaunch Star Wars, the entire sequel trilogy and multiple movies and shows have to be decanonized. Fine. Just do it. Fine. It's probably worth less than he sold it for. I'll talk about the Demeter here in just a second then. If fans didn't like the prequels either, I doubt they'll like George's plans. Well, see, that's why I'm a bit skeptical, because I was not a huge fan of the prequel trilogy, like I was saying. I did go back and try to watch them. This was probably a year and a half ago. I was like, when I was painting all these stormtroopers and things like that, I was like, you know what? It has been a long, long time since I've tried to watch the prequel trilogy. And maybe I should just give it another shot, because I had watched all of the other movies, all of the original movies while I was painting. I was like, well, I still feel like having some Star Wars theme. Let me go back and see those. And I still didn't really think they were all that great. But so it's possible that it would still not be all that great. It's certainly possible. But I think it would be something that would get people's interest. Hagen says, true, but not anymore. Fans have never been as divided as now, and the prequels are being acknowledged as not that bad now. Phantom definitely showed the true Jedi. Made Qui-Gon one of my favorite Jedis. Yeah, see, and I think that, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, that should have been the same Jedi. It should have been Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm pretty, I've been pretty harsh on the Phantom Menace. I did a breakdown here on the Morning Grind about especially Anakin Skywalker's arc. I suspect people would prefer more prequel trilogy-esque movies over sequel trilogy movies, which is why I suspect George would want it. He's gotten a lot of love recently. Well, he's gotten a lot of love recently, yeah. But I don't know. I'm still skeptical. My problem with Kenobi, Hagen says, my problem with Kenobi is how it bastardized his character. They turned him into a coward that stopped looking after Luke and training him as he promised. My problem with Kenobi is that it seemed completely unnecessary as a series, because it was like, hey, I know what, let's take all of our characters. We got all of our characters in position at the end of this movie to lead into the start of this next movie. So we've got to make sure that we tell a story that takes the characters from exactly their starting positions, does something that doesn't influence anything else because we already know what happens in the future, and then returns all the characters to their starting locations. That seemed unnecessary to me. Yeah. So I saw the trailer to the Voyage of the Demeter when I was out to see Oppenheimer, which we still haven't talked about on this channel yet. Tuesday night for Table Talk. We're going to be talking. James Bacon, who you see here in the chat often, is going to be talking to Doug about the Heroine's Labyrinth and basically challenging him on a few points in its relationship with the hero's journey. I know that Cameron wanted to talk about Oppenheimer, and so did RM. But I'm not sure what to say about that. Have people been here to see Oppenheimer? I enjoyed it, but I didn't come away with great thoughts on it to have a conversation. Other people did, but I didn't. So I'm not sure what to say about that. But I did see the Voyage of the Demeter over here, and I thought this looked pretty cool. Let's see. I don't know. I'm not used to playing trailers and things like that on YouTube, so I don't want to get like struck here. But when I saw it, I went, "Hey, wait a minute! Wasn't the Demeter the name of the ship that brought Dracula over from Transylvania to London?" And it is. So I was right about that. And so this is a Dracula story. It seems pretty. It seems pretty neat to me. If I lived closer to movie theaters, then what I would do is go and probably just go and see it. But it takes a while for me to get to a movie theater. So this is the guy. What is the guy? The guy who played Davos right here from Game of Thrones. If I were living closer and I could just hop down and see a movie, this one seems like a fun one just to go and see. And it was positively reviewed. Cameron positively reviewed it last. I guess he went to see it last night because his review was in my inbox this morning. So he said that it was positive, but it doesn't look like it's going to be doing very well commercially. But it seems like a neat idea. This is not for Dracula movies. I haven't seen a take on. I mean, I haven't ever seen a movie that specifically focused on the Demeter, right? But the voyages, the ships, being trapped on a ship with a vampire. I mean, this does seem like it would be a pretty cool story especially if you're looking for a casual horror film. Whoa, a casual horror film to go and see this summer. Has anybody been to see it like last night or something? Did it open yesterday? Did it open this weekend? Let's see what people are saying. Hagen says, all of my Disney simp friends agree, however, that it sucks up until Vader's fight. This is going back to Kenobi. And I don't think that ending saved the show. I see. That's why I watched Vader's. I ended up watching that fight because I stopped watching the show. I stopped watching the show. But I did find like they had like the last fight scene or something like that on YouTube. And that's when I saw all the comments about people like, oh my God, this is everything that I've ever wanted it to be. Let's see. Not any, yeah, it's not just any vampire, it's Dracula. So if someone sees this, let me know. I might have to wait until I might have to wait until I can see it someplace else, like on streaming or something like that. I've decided I'm gonna wait to see Mission Impossible. So Mission Impossible is also I was thinking about going and see it, but I missed my time slot. I screwed up the time slot, and it's long. I didn't realize how long it was. So I'm kind of interested in Mission Impossible because it is one of the action franchises that's actually working now. But that's not quite enough. If it were a 2-hour movie and I'd be able to just slip in and see it, I would have. But if it's a 3.5 hour or something like that movie, I don't know, 3-hour movie, something like that, it'll have to wait. Who has been playing Baldur's Gate 3? Has anybody been playing Baldur's Gate 3? Has the controversy actually been something that worth it? Because obviously there's been a whole lot of controversy. I remember the first thing really that I had heard about Baldur's Gate 3, people were telling me about Sarah says, I like the creative singular interpretations of IP like this, I think regarding Voyage of the Demeter. But I'm not sure this one's going to be actually good. Baldur's Gate 3. Hagen says this game's pretty weird. So the first time it was brought up to me, it was actually you guys in the chat who had said something about, check this thing out about like this love scene between this guy and this bear or something like that. And I was like, okay, what? So I did go and look that up, and I was trying to go like, what is that? So it's like a druid in wild shape or something like that, that this there's going to be like this love scene with the druid and the bear or something like that. So I saw that. See, I was trying to decide, like, social media controversy is social media controversy, and it's probably good to have some in order to have people talk about whatever's going on in your, or your game or your movie or whatever else. So that sounded like, okay, how deep does that controversy go? And then the next thing that I saw, like as far as headlines going by, were the headlines about nudity in Baldur's Gate 3 and customizing various aspects of your character's anatomy and things like that. So I was like, all right, so is that actually Baldur's Gate 3 full nudity is causing quite a stir on social media? But then I also saw, like, on Twitter where somebody was posting, well, there's, here's the options to toggle things on and off and like that. So I was like, is this again one of those things that's controversial and people want to talk about, but actually not all that big a deal? So I thought, I was trying to get this. It says the Baldur's Gate 3 nudity debate summarized. I was like, okay, please summarize this for me and let's figure out what is actually going on here. And is it actually a bunch of nothing, or is it something, or is it actually an issue? So it says Baldur's Gate 3 launch has been surprisingly successful with over 800,000 concurrent players on stream. So a big launch. The game's nudity and sexual themes has sparked controversy and debates on social media about their acceptability. Arguments and comparisons have been made between the game's portrayal of nudity and sexual themes and censorship in anime and Japanese games, which actually that's not something that I know much about at all, because anime is not something that I have followed. Sometimes somebody's going to have to introduce me to anime. I think that R was talking about that and what exactly I should watch, but I'm not really in the anime scene. So Baldur's Gate 3 surprised even the most optimistic commentators with just how successful the game's launch has been. The latest installment in the legendary series peaked at over 800,000 concurrent players on stream this weekend. Popularity often breeds controversy, and Baldur's Gate 3 is no exception. Right, so you need some, or actually I would say that the other way. Popularity often breeds controversy. That may be true, but often controversy breeds popularity. So it never hurts to have some controversy. So I'm wondering if that's what's going on here. The game's nudity and sexual themes have caused quite a bit of stir on social media, sparking back and forth debates about the acceptability of some of the more mature content present in Baldur's Gate 3. But why can't we have mature content? I mean, I enjoy both. I mean, like you're talking about like Game of Thrones, HBO style Game of Thrones TV shows or movies. Well, I enjoy that. I have no problem with that. Everything does not have to have that, of course, but some types of stories or some types of worlds and things like that may be perfectly suitable for that. So maybe this is one of those. For those unfamiliar, Baldur's Gate 3 contains full nudity. You can choose the type of genitals your character will have, and you can strip down every character to their barest form if you so please. In addition, there are explicit sex scenes and a myriad of other sexually charged situations that occur naturally while playing the game. It's important to note that Baldur's Gate 3 is rated mature by the ESRB and has a variety of options to hide genitals, cinematic nudity, and sex scenes. So, I mean, that tells you all that you need to know, right? Now, see, there was controversy about, like, I saw people talking about whether or not, people were taking kids to see Barbie, the Barbie movie. And there were some things in the Barbie movie they didn't want them to see, but it was rated PG-13. I mean, I'm not real big on, especially like trigger warnings, but especially like the minutia level of trigger warnings, and things like that, please list out everything that, somebody possibly could have a problem with. But I am in favor of, like a rating, things like that, let people know what type of game it is, so that if you're looking for a game for your nephews, kids, something like that, and you see Baldur's Gate 3 is rated mature, well, I mean, that tells you something, kind of like a PG-13 rating or an R rating or something like that. Some people don't care about those things. Some people dismiss them, but, and watch whatever, or let their kids watch whatever, and are much more permissive on that. And that's fine, perfectly fine, whatever works for you. But the rating is there. So here we have the rating, right? So it's rated mature. And then also people were posting the screenshots about the options to hide these things. So to me, that kind of makes it a non-issue. Well, it's a mature game. You might have the thing beneath it that says something like, violence in sexual situations or something. So, okay, so people complain. Oh, well, here's some kind of tweet right here. This might have been the one that I saw. People complaining about Baldur's Gate 3 not providing any warnings for nudity, but it does. So let's see exactly what this says. This game may contain content not appropriate for all ages or may not be appropriate for viewing at work. Developers describe the content like this. Is this like a Steam warning or something? This game may contain content not appropriate for all ages. It contains general mature content and may include nudity or sexual content. Okay. And then here, user options, show genitals. Admittedly, I'm not used to seeing that. I don't play a whole lot of video games, in general. But show genitals is not something that I'm used to seeing as an option in video games. So show genitals, but here it is. Show cinematic nudity, share private moments. Share private moments. Does that have to do with nudity and sexuality, or does that have to do with something else, like actual like sharing with other players or something? Exploration, highlights, or share private moments with other NPCs or something like that? Okay, so it tells you, and the options are there. Doesn't that kind of make it a non-issue? It seems like many cases when you're looking at controversy online, I found, like, especially when even when it's something that I see that's like, oh, that seems controversial. Oh my God, that seems terrible. Oftentimes when I go and look at it, I don't actually see the level of controversy that, is being whipped up on social media. So this seems to be one of those. I'll see what's going on in the comments in just a second, but we'll see here. There seems to be some anger among social media users over the blatant nature of the nudity, as well as numerous questions on why Baldur's Gate's nudity is being celebrated while past sexualizations in video games was being vilified. Now, that might be a more interesting question. I'm not completely up on all of that, but questions as to why Baldur's Gate nudity is being celebrated while past sexualizations in video games was vilified. I don't know a whole lot about that, but it does seem like a lot of people have been very pro. It does seem like, just from what I see going by, there is a strong pro sexuality and nudity and stuff like that in Baldur's Gate. Actually, I wonder what R thinks about this. I know she plays a lot of video games and streams some. And of course, she does talk a lot about sexuality and sex and sexuality inside video game, or excuse me, inside TV and movies. But I haven't actually heard her talk about video games. I wonder what she thinks about this. The debate has also wrapped up in a conversation about sexualization and censorship in anime, as well as Japanese games. Fans of those subgenres argue that Western gaming fans are hypocritical for celebrating nonchalant nudity in Baldur's Gate 3 while simultaneously maintaining that censorship in anime and other Japanese media is necessary. So does that mean that in Japan, there is more nudity in anime and Japanese media, but that it gets censored when it comes over here to the United States or for Western media in general. Is that what it's saying? People are countering the above argument by saying the majority of censorship in Japanese games is being directed by Sony and other publishers, not because of popular opinion. Sony is known to censor games in order to comply with Japan's Sero rating system. So, okay, see, that makes me think that it's going the other way. Meanwhile, those in favor of keeping Japanese content censored argue that Baldur's Gate 3 handles nudity and sexual themes in a more mature manner than Japanese content, avoiding the fetishes and tropes that people find problematic. Well, who knows what those things are? Oh, we're linking to a tweet here. It's not about having nudity. Oh, let's see. The one that's being replied to here. Baldur's Gate 3 full nudity is giving players a shock. Imagine if it's a Japanese game with Japanese graphics doing this. They'd be banned from all platforms. That's how double standard it is nowadays. West good, Japan bad, BS. So it's not about having nudity. It's about how you approach it. It says Baldur's Gate 3 knows that it's all respectful. Baldur's Gate knows that, and it's respectful. Armors are sensical, and the sex is between two non-related adults who give consent. No incest, no 500 years old Lolita, and no sex slaves. Okay, so there has been a lot of people talking about different aspects of this. Okay, I only recently found out what this was. Well, I know no. I know what Lolita is. That's from the book. But there's another term. There's another term that this probably what people are talking about. Another reoccurring argument dredges up past criticism about a scene in Mass Effect 2 where Commander Shepard is speaking to squad mate Miranda Lawson about her past, and the camera inexplicably stays focused on her rear. This scene was reanimated for Mass Effect's Legendary Edition. Okay. Those arguing this point suggest that it's hypocritical of people to criticize this scene in Mass Effect 2 without also criticizing sexualization in Baldur's Gate 3. Of course, this ignores context. The often maligned scene in Mass Effect 3 was out of place, appearing during an emotional conversation between Shepard and Miranda. The cinematic nudity in Baldur's Gate 3 is within context and makes sense. Barring the usual conservative talking heads that abhor all sexualization in video games, the other arguments tend to drag Baldur's Gate 3 into unrelated squabbles. For people who are confused about the loose discourse on social media regarding this topic, we hope this article helps to explain things. Well, okay, that seemed to be, a reasonable catch-up summary to me. Is that your experience? We'll see what people are saying in the comments. Oh, lots of stuff going on here. Sarah says the bear scene actually fades to black, so it's mostly humor. And at one point, I did walk into a scene of two NPCs going on, but you don't see anything. Don says, if you're too young for nudity, you're too young for this game with its gore and violence anyway. Yeah, but why do we have but what was the purpose though? Sarah says it's not a game about sex or anything aside from genitals on the character creator. So why is that? I guess that to me just seems like for the controversy then, just to say that we're doing it just to get people to talk about it. So we have genital customization and what other people are saying rather limited genital customization anyway. So is that just for the controversy? Maybe. because you could have the sexual themes or storylines without having that, right? The anime Psychopath is a great morality story that I might like. I've never heard of that one. Of course, that surprised me because I'm not in that scene. So well, let's make a note of that. My cousin and her husband is big into this Berserk and told me to watch it, but it's subtitled, which is not necessarily a problem for me. But every time I go to watch something, like if I were painting miniatures or something like that, I can't also read it. So I was like, oh my, I need some time when I can actually that's actually something we should talk about as far as on the morning grind goes. I want to go back and do some reviews and discussions. I've got a whole bunch of stuff of TV and movies that I've missed because I've got a bunch of things. My watch list is built back up again about things I'm supposed to watch and and for the story critique perspective, but some of them are older things. But we could do that here on the grind. So if I could also watch some anime and see what I think about it. That might be a good time to watch Berserk or the Psychopaths or something like that. Don says, exactly, rated mature. Don't buy it for your kids. Well, I would say it's a soft PG-13. Yeah. But it is PG-13. It's not like it was a G-rated, Barbie adventure or PG or something like that. Let's see. Oh, private moments, I think, is to show personal quests to others in multiplayer. Yeah, it's kind of weird that also, would you like to share your private moments in the context of, would you like to show genitals and would you like to show cinematic sex scenes? It's kind of funny that the next thing is, would you like to share your private moments? Sounds like it could be like something exhibitionist or something like that. Tomocrat agrees. The controversy I see usually turns out to be a big nothing burger and clickbait. Oh, share private enables you to broadcast your stream overall, but not broadcast the love scenes. It's a tasteful feature option. So Hagen says Japanese media has nudity, but it gets censored a lot. Japan's nudity isn't as sexualized as this, however. Yeah, when we say, because that's all generalized too. Yeah, people criticize this. People are saying this. Well, first of all, how many people are saying that? I mean, we have, you can have outsized influence on social media. A small number of people can have outsized influence. So, I mean, people are criticizing. Well, people will criticize all kinds of things. How many people actually have a problem with it? Sarah says that I'm 40 hours in, and the thing that shocked me the most was a violent scene and not a sex scene. Well, Berserk is not for sensitive viewers. That's what I understand. Oh, it's incredibly dark. Well, maybe that's why they recommended it to me. I think they're yeah, I guess I just have to explore some of that side, because that is a side that I completely am not a part of. But I know they are really into it. Okay, well, where do we go from here? Did I have some other topics today? See, we talked about Moria coming. We talked about the Kickstarters and Moria coming. I do want to talk about in the. I think I need to find this. I'll come up with this for another time. We're coming up on an hour right here anyway. But it was brought up in the Ravenkeep Discord server. Which did I post a link to this? Another thing that I've got to do is I want to sort. I'm going to go through and I'm going to sort the Ravenkeep Discord server some more and get the onboarding so you can straightened out. So depending on what topic you're interested in, that way I just have to run one Discord server, the Ravenkeep Discord server. But if you're interested in certain topics and not in others, then you can just let us know. And I realize that ability is there now. I just got to get that hooked up. At the moment, Ravenkeep Discord server. But we were talking about AI art, and I did watch this this video about the Spider Queen. Let me see if I can look this up. Has anybody seen this? Because I saw the creator of the Spider Queen. He looked like he was doing exactly the kind of things that I want to do for Rabavania and so forth. He had used a bunch of AI. Let's see, YouTube Spider. I said no. Spider Queen YouTube. And he was talking about some of the comments that he received. Yeah, that's not it. But I thought that he provided a very well. Hang on. Oh yeah, okay. So the Austin McConnell. And he used this for one of his to create to animate the first chapter of his comic book of his I think it's a graphic novel actually. Could have been a comic book, but it might have been a graphic novel, like the first chapter of the graphic novel. And it seemed like I really wanted to watch it because it seemed like he did a fantastic job with it, and he used all kinds of tools in order to make that happen. But then people were saying, "Well, no, wait a minute, was this AI generated?" And he put together an amazing response video. So the response video was posted in the AI for gaming section of the Ravenkeep Discord. And I did watch it. I forget who posted it. I need to thank them. But whoever posted that, thank you very much, because I did watch that. I thought it was a fantastic video on that subject. And I think we need to return to that idea, especially we watch what other people are doing, because it seems like in his case, it was definitely something that empowered him in a big way. But I'm not quite ready to get all the way into that. Let's see. Well, let's go. Let's remove that. Shadowlight says, think of the mind that thinks of bears in a sexual way. That's what scares me, joking. Never thought of a bear that way, though. Well, I can also see it being played for humor. Sarah is saying that it was played for humor. Like, that's one of those things where I could see the some kind of that scene, and then that getting put out on social media and people having a problem, like, oh my God, look at what is in this. But is it more humorous than anything? I don't know. I haven't seen it myself, but I can completely see that. Oh my God, look at this very controversial scene with this bear, and then it ends up being something that's more played for humor than anything. Sean says 3 is pretty good so far. I haven't gotten in that far. Is it better? So here's the question. Is it better than Diablo 3? Diablo 4. Right. I was going to play Diablo 4. I played Baldur's Gate in the past, a long time ago. Had not been following it. So that's probably why Baldur's Gate 3 was not really on my radar. But Diablo was, but I only have a Mac. I don't have any type of game console. So I was disappointed that I actually wasn't able to play Diablo 4 until it comes to Mac. So I'm not going to buy a game console just to play Diablo 4 or anything like that. So I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get to play Diablo 4. Maybe in the future sometime. But Baldur's Gate 3, I don't know, maybe I could play that. If it's on Steam, I guess I could. A good anime that's mature in the best way, intellectually mature, although there's a good share of violence too, is Princess Mononoke. I hear that one talked about so much. That's probably a good one to start with. I might have watched that one a long, long time ago when I worked at a movie store because I heard people talking about it. But that's probably a good one to start with. This is what everybody says. This is as soon as you say that, this is what everybody says. But first of all, it's the guy who used the but I don't know why. Because first of all, it's not like anybody who is using AI generation or anything like that doesn't already understand what's going on, or the very we don't know the very gray area of what's going on with copyright. I mean, it's not like anybody who is using that doesn't already know this, that we're operating in this very gray area. We don't know that legally, if you use AI, you won't have copyright because it hasn't gone to something like an ultimate court, right? We know what the current policies of the Copyright Office are, right? And the current office and the Copyright Office did give that guy copyright to his comic book, right? I mean, the guy who used AI art to generate the art in his copyright his book did end up getting the copyright for his book. I mean, right? The idea was that the individual images, if they were completely AI generated, then those would not have copyright. But once you assemble them into a book, then he got the copyright for that. Am I wrong about that? He got the copyright for his book. He just said that the individual images, because the book is a compilation, like he had to compile all of that and put that into the copyright to the book could be his, but that the individual copyright to those images was not something that he had, because he was explicit that he was using all AI for that. It wasn't something that was AI based and then, manipulated beyond that, or it wasn't something that, he sketched and then used AI for. Am I wrong about that? But also people do definitely say, I mean, as soon as you say, I'm thinking about using like AI or something like that, it always comes up, somebody says, oh, you can't have copyright. But you know what? I have also told people before AI was a thing, I had also told people what I'm going to do is I'm going to use all public domain art. So that's one thing that you could do. If you're trying to, if you have a project that's going to require a bunch of art and it's out of the question to hire artists in order to get this project done. Well, one thing that you can totally do is use public domain art. And if I say I'm going to use all public domain art, nobody has ever said, well, you can't copyright that. Nobody ever says that. Like, I know, nobody ever says that. That's not a warning that people give when you start to use public domain art, because I could totally illustrate things using all public domain art. And no, I would not own the copyright to the public domain art. You can do a lot of things. And sometimes it's even good. That you don't have, like, for instance, here's a problem that I ran into. Music on YouTube, because I was looking for music on YouTube is difficult, very difficult to work with, because if you use something that YouTube even believes is held by another music artist, then all of your revenue for that video goes to them, all of it. It's not like if you use something that a song or something that has that YouTube believes is copyright by somebody else, that you split the revenue or something like that. It's that all of your revenue goes to the musician. So YouTube highly skews completely revenue to the creator of music, right? And it used to be that YouTube says, well, hey, if you are having trouble finding some music that is copyright free and that you can use, well, here, go over to our music creator inside your YouTube creator studio, go down to music, and then there was a bunch of music that YouTube had created and then released to use on YouTube, so you wouldn't have to owe royalties to anybody. But now that's not even the case. I was finding that there were things in the YouTube cleared music section of the creator that the creator studio, that actually, if you use, it still sends all of your revenue to the music creator. I mean, how crazy is that? You have to be very careful about what you even pick inside YouTube's music studio, because even though you'd think, oh, if this is in the studio, then I'm clear to use it. I can make all kinds of things. I can use this as background music for my videos or whatever, and I'm in the clear because YouTube has said, here, you can use these. But in some cases, YouTube is saying, here, you can use these. You're perfectly acceptable to use these. But that when you do, your revenue will still go to the person who all of your revenue will still go to the person who created the song. That seems absurd. I mean, that's absurd. Because creating the video is also, if it were 50-50, I mean, I could see some other kind of revenue sharing. But YouTube says all of your revenue goes to the person who created the song. So wouldn't it be great if we had a whole bunch of copyright-free music? So AI music generation has been kind of slow coming. It seems like to me, there may be technical reasons for that, but I was like, it seems like music should be something like that. But I was experimenting with Full Journey just yesterday because I accidentally used the wrong song in a YouTube video. I was going through YouTube's music selection, specifically looking for ones that YouTube, because I was like, oh my God, there's a bunch of stuff in here that YouTube says you can use, but you actually can't. You'd send all of your revenue to the music creator. And I was specifically trying to find an allowable song, and I screwed up. I picked the wrong song. It was one that actually you couldn't just use on YouTube. It would require all of your revenue to be sent to the music creator if you do that. I used it in one of my videos, and then I woke up the next morning and it had YouTube had flagged me and said that this video is not eligible for monetization because it's now being monetized by the person who owns that song. So I was like, oh, I just screwed up, and it was too late to change it. But wouldn't it be great if we had copyright-free music? Well, now with Full Journey, we can create the AI music. There's no copyright on it. There's no copyright on it. So if it shows up in the background of a video or something like that, it's perfectly acceptable. Isn't that great? And you open liability for it? No. There are no. Like, think about Firefly, Adobe Firefly. There's regardless of what you think about whether or not you can use stuff on the internet to train, there are also diffusion models that are trained entirely on public domain images, and also images that people have the licensing for. I mean, that's Adobe's entire thing, right? That all this is ethically sourced AI, right? So that we own, was trained only on Adobe stock, only on the images that we use. Only the images that we own. So as long as you have a license for Adobe and Adobe Firefly, you know that it was only trained on stuff that we have a license for. Let's see. Let's see what people are saying. 2 cases on copyright were won by the copyright holder, Heath. Right, exactly. Copyright was given. Exactly. You can copyright a public domain image that you derive or alter. Right. And you can also copyright AI images that you derive or alter, correct? The Dungeon Master says there needs to be clearer labels on such things. There totally does. Oh, I thought you were talking about it could be. I thought you were talking about on the music and YouTube. Yeah, that was completely confusing. No, it says you would think that Mike says you would think that YouTube could put a hold on that video if it was flagged so that you could remedy the situation. Well, apparently it said that like I could have bought a license from that person. So it said that I could have bought a license from that person. And I have no idea how much that would have been, but I guess I could have done that through YouTube. But it said that one potential option was buy a license from the music creator. Except for that option was no longer available to me because it said that option was only available for a short time after the video was published, and that was one of the it was one of the live streams. It was one of the dinner and a board game live streams, and so that ended at about 10 o'clock at night, and then I went to bed, and then when I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, I had the flag, and the time time to buy the license had already expired. So there's obviously a very short period of time for that. Like if you if you publish a video and then go to sleep, by the time you wake up the next morning, your time will have already expired. So I'm looking at a lot more like, gee, I need a whole like the AI generated music or something like that. If it's not copyrighted, that seems like a good way to go. Lady of Pain says music and art require 10% alteration. All right. Well, this was a great conversation. Lots of stuff going on here. So I love the mornings where we actually have conversations like this. So this worked very well. All right. Well, I hope everybody has enjoyed it just as much as I have. Everybody, please do be creative, be constructive, and grind on and work out today if you can. See you later, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.